You think you can lie your way out of this? Look at me. You left him there to die.
Officer, that's enough. This is a court of law, not an interrogation room.
His life, Your
Sit
Honor.
down now!
"Order in the court," the judge shouted, but it was too late. The officer's hand had already struck. The slap cracked through the air, silencing the room. For a heartbeat, no one breathed. Cameras froze. The nation held its breath. And then she stood, calm, defiant, unbroken. The woman he hit wasn't just anyone. She was a member of Parliament. What happened next flipped the meaning of justice on its head. This is the story of power, prejudice, and the moment one woman turned history into payback. Comment your city below if you're watching this unfold. It was supposed to be an ordinary morning in Westminster. The air outside buzzed with reporters, flashes from cameras bouncing off marble columns as members of Parliament filed into the courthouse. Among them walked Amina Clark, a 34-year-old MP known for her fierce advocacy against systemic racism and police brutality. Her stride was steady, her chin high, the calm confidence of someone who had faced storms before and refused to bow. Inside, the courtroom hummed with quiet tension. This wasn't just another hearing, it was a reckoning. The case involved a black teenager wrongfully arrested, his bruises still fresh, his dignity stolen. Amina had been invited to observe, not as a politician, but as a voice for those silenced too long. She had seen injustice before, but something about today felt heavier. The kind of heaviness that sits deep in your chest before history shifts. She took her seat near the front, her sharp eyes scanning the room. Rows of officers sat on one side, their uniforms crisp, expressions unreadable. On the other side, the boy's family huddled together, clutching hope like a fragile glass. The judge's gavel echoed, and for a moment the world stood still. For Amina, this wasn't just another case. It was personal. She remembered her father's words. "They'll challenge your right to stand, to speak, to exist. But never let them take your power." Those words had carried her through protests, threats, and sleepless nights drafting laws no one believed would pass. As testimonies began, Amina noticed subtle looks, smirks exchanged between officers, a whisper behind her back. It wasn't paranoia. It was the familiar chill of being watched, judged, and dismissed because of her skin. She straightened her back, her presence a quiet defiance. She didn't know it yet. But before the day ended, that defiance would be tested in a way that would shake the nation. The testimonies dragged on for hours. Every word felt like a battle, a tug of war between truth and denial. The young boy's lawyer presented medical records, body cam footage, and eyewitness accounts. Still, the officer accused of assault sat stone-faced, his hand resting casually on the table as if justice were just another formality. Amina watched closely, her pen steady in hand, her heart simmering beneath her calm exterior. She'd heard stories like this before, too many. Yet, as the footage played, the boy pinned, pleading, the officer's boot pressing down harder, the murmurs in the courtroom shifted. Some gasped, others looked away, but one man didn't flinch, Officer Bradley Kent, the man at the center of it all. He leaned back, smirking as the screen went black. His arrogance filled the room like smoke. Amina's stomach turned. She could feel generations of pain pressing on her chest, the pain of seeing cruelty justified, of dignity stripped away again and again. During the recess, Amina stepped outside into the hallway. She needed a moment, just a breath. Cameras were waiting, journalists eager for a reaction, but she ignored them. She wasn't here for headlines. She was here for justice. Inside, whispers started to rise again. The officers chatted among themselves loud enough for her to hear. "They always play the victim," one said. "Even when they're in power," a few chuckled. Amina turned, her eyes meeting theirs. No words were exchanged, but her silence spoke louder than any speech ever could. When the court resumed, the tension had sharpened. Amina returned to her seat. The defense attorney called a witness, a fellow officer. His testimony was smooth, too smooth, rehearsed. He painted the victim as aggressive, unpredictable, a threat. The same script the world had heard too many times, and then it happened. As Amina stood to leave after the session, Officer Kent deliberately brushed past her, his shoulder colliding with hers. The impact was small, but the message was clear. When she didn't respond, he muttered under his breath, a word she'd heard before, one heavy with hate. Her pulse quickened. Around them, cameras flashed, spectators whispered. She could have ignored it, could have walked away. But then the officer smirked again and said it louder. The word cut through the air like glass. A hush fell over the room. Amina turned. Their eyes locked, his filled with arrogance, hers with fire. Years of patience, diplomacy, and restraint hung in the balance. The courtroom had become a stage, and the audience leaned forward, sensing something about to break. In that moment, Amina understood that this wasn't just about her, or the boy, or even the case. It was about every time silence had been mistaken for weakness. Then, as if the tension itself snapped, Officer Kent's hand moved, fast, careless, crossing a line that could never be uncrossed. Gasps filled the courtroom, and history, in that instant, began to turn. The sound echoed, sharp, shocking, final, a slap. It landed so hard that even the judge froze mid-breath. Officer Kent's hand had connected with Amina's face. For a second, no one moved. The courtroom stood suspended in disbelief, the silence louder than any scream. Flashbulbs burst. The boy's mother gasped. A clerk dropped her pen. Amina didn't fall. She didn't even blink. Slowly, she raised her head, eyes locking with his. The red mark on her cheek burned, but something far deeper ignited inside her. Decades of quiet endurance, generations of swallowed rage, all of it surged forward in one heartbeat. The officer took a step back, realizing too late what he'd done. Authority drained from his face, replaced by fear. Amina's posture changed. Steady, unshaken, commanding. The weight of centuries seemed to stand behind her. Without a word, she moved. One clean motion, precise and fierce. The sound of her palm striking him sent another shockwave through the courtroom. The officer stumbled backward, crashing into the bench, stunned. Gasps erupted, some in horror, others in awe. The judge pounded the gavel, shouting for order, but the crowd had already risen. For the first time, it wasn't fear echoing. It was something else. Power. Amina didn't look away. "That," she said quietly, "was for every voice you tried to silence." Phones were already recording. In those few seconds, the world witnessed a reversal. Oppression meeting resistance, injustice meeting consequence. Dear audience, where are you watching from? Drop your city name in the comments! The next morning, every major network carried the footage. MP strikes back after assault in court, the headlines read. Social media exploded. Some called her a hero, others called her unprofessional. But no one could deny one thing. The world had seen what happened. And for once, there was no spinning it, no hiding behind badges or protocols. Amina sat quietly in her office, the bruise on her cheek fading, but her spirit sharper than ever. The government launched an internal investigation. The officer was suspended. But she knew that this wasn't a victory, it was a spark. A reminder of how fragile respect can be when color still dictates power. Messages flooded in from around the world. Young women wrote saying they finally felt seen. Protesters held signs with her name. The boy's case was reopened, this time with new evidence and a new determination from those who had watched the video and couldn't unsee it. Amina returned to Parliament days later, walking past the same cameras that once sought scandal. Now they captured something different, strength. Not the kind born from anger, but from standing firm when the world tried to push you down. In her following speech, she didn't mention the slap. She spoke instead about change, about dignity, about what it truly means to fight back. The room was silent, listening, because everyone knew. Justice wasn't just served in the courtroom that day. It was awakened. How many more moments like this will it take before equality isn't an act of defiance but a way of life? Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more powerful stories and share this one to keep the conversation alive.